Welcome to the Empathic Mastery Show. I'm your host, Jennifer Moore, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a place where we talk about what it means to be highly sensitive and empathic, how this impacts all aspects of our lives, and we explore tools, resources, and solutions so we can shift from absorbing all the thoughts, feelings, and energy of the world around us to being beacons for calm, love, and healing. Hey there, everybody. I'm back with another episode of the Empathic Mastery Show, and today my guest is June Edward. June Edward has been psychic since childhood. She didn't realize she was also a medium until later in life. June experienced a near-death experience when she was 27 years old and came back to this side by choice. She can offer firsthand experience that life after life does exist. June's sold-out group readings can offer insight to the best path for your life and help to reveal what the universe has in store. June's special gifts include working directly with the angels, guides, and departed souls. These combined tools have made her a very strong and accurate relationship mastery expert and psychic medium, able to reveal validating details to help audiences get the most out of their lives and relationships, both personally and professionally. June, welcome. I am so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have this conversation. And I'm just like, near-death experience at the age of 27, being psychic since childhood. Welcome to the Empathic Mastery Show. You definitely fit in here. I always love to start by talking a little bit about childhood, talking a little bit about what was it like to be a psychic kid? What was it like? Did you identify as an empath? Did you pick up like the emotional energy? Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of us.
When you're a kid, you don't know. You don't even know what the word empath is.
Right.
You don't know when you're a child. I just thought I was like everybody else, but I was afraid. My youngest memory was about the age of 3. And I remember hearing someone call my voice when I was in bed in the morning. And I thought it was one of my parents. So I get out of bed and go in their room and they're fast asleep. But I thought that was a little weird. And then I go back into my room and I'm still pondering who called me. And I start seeing faces in the bedroom. Mm-hmm. And that really scared me. So I pulled the sheets up over my face and I'm really scared. When the sun started to come up, I was probably lying there for 10 or 15 minutes. I started seeing like the shadow of a face, like right up against me. I was literally free. I think I got up and ran into the living room at that point. There were a lot of nights I just wouldn't even sleep in the room. And then as I got older, I would start to know things were going to happen before they happened. So when I got to school age and I would tell my classmates stuff that was going to happen, I quickly got labeled a freak. Mm-hmm. And I was just a nervous basket case. I would chew my nails. I'd stuttered, all kinds of things. I would blink my eyes really hard, all kinds of nervous tics and habits. I was just a mess. And I had a very difficult childhood. It was very physically, emotionally, and sexually abusive. I was one of 8 children. So there wasn't anybody I could turn to tell anybody anything to. It was a pretty lonely, scary life.
Yeah. Well, and you and I grew up in the same state, it turns out. Yeah. And I don't think that it's a state that was particularly conducive to or supportive of like.
No, they burned you at the stake. If they think you're a witch, they burn you at the stake.
Exactly. The one place in the United States where witches were actually persecuted. Yeah. Although I've heard rumor that there were other places where it stayed under the radar, but Salem is part of Massachusetts for sure. You were talking about like just really, really early on starting with this psychic ability, but also just feeling so incredibly isolated. But you also talked about thinking that you were like everybody else. At what point?
I thought everybody else saw what I saw. I didn't know.
So at what point did you start to realize, wait a second, maybe I'm different?
So when I was 10, my parents split up. My dad actually kidnapped the 5 youngest of us. And at 10 years old, I suddenly had to start taking care of kids younger than me. My job at night after cooking dinner was to do the dishes. And there was a woman about 45 who would stand there and talk to me every night and keep me company while I did the dishes. I was appreciative of it. And I assumed everybody else saw her. So one day I asked my older brother who she was, and he started laughing at me. And he said she was the woman that was murdered in the house. Her husband killed her by throwing her down the basement stairs. Scared the bejesus out of me. And she must have felt it and never come back again. But it
Oh,
also made sense as why I didn't like to go in the basement, because it was always, it felt very, very cold to me, even in the wintertime, and very foreboding. And I was very afraid of the basement.
I'm just getting chills as you're speaking about her. And isn't it interesting considering the violence it sounds like that your father was prone to, that you guys would have been attracted to a house where there was a murder caused by domestic violence? There's no
Yeah, it's
mistakes in
just,
the
yeah.
universe. So at this point, you realize, so you're 10 and you're starting to go, wait a second, I'm seeing things that other people are not seeing. At least your brother was able to identify her and say, oh, she's the ghost of this. Like,
I don't know if he knew that's what he was identifying or he was just trying to scare me more. I don't know, but I'm sure he was probably accurate. That's probably who it was. So at that point, I really tried to just block my abilities. For
yes,
the most part, we are in control of our own abilities. They respect that because this is your soul. This is your journey. This is your life. And if you want to let the angels and guides in from the other side, that's up to you. They're not going to force their way in. But even though I was trying to block everything for years, if somebody died, if they were just an acquaintance of somebody in the family, they would come to me immediately. And the next day I'd be like, hey, so and so died. And they'd be like, no, he didn't. I just saw him yesterday. I'm like, I'm telling you, he died last night. Sure enough, they check it out, find out that I was right. And they did die. And then I just got interested in going to haunted vacations, going to the Wally house and the Alcatraz prison, and stayed on the Queen Mary a few times, going on haunted, I was kind of scared, but I was still very interested. I was really drawn to it. I wanted to try to figure some of it out. But I was one of those people, honestly, that if I couldn't see it, feel it, and touch it, it can't be real. Even to look
mm,
up at the stars, I remember as a kid looking up at the stars and I'd be like, they're beautiful, but I can't touch them. I can't get to them. What are they really? Are they really planets? I couldn't fathom it if I couldn't see it, feel it, and touch it. But I can
so
tell you, after I died, that changed real quick.
uh-huh, uh-huh. I'm just thinking, isn't it interesting that your experience of the paranormal was so concrete? Like that this woman is standing there talking with you as if you could see, feel,
Yeah.
and touch her
Yes,
and everything.
absolutely.
Yeah. So you
Absolutely.
brought it up, the near-death experience. Please, I personally just can't get enough of stories of near-death experiences. I just find them so fascinating.
So I never called it a near death experience, and I never heard of that term for years. And
Hmm.
it's been labeled that by scientists because they can't quantify it. Once they can quantify it, then they will call it a death experience, which is what it really is.
Yeah.
So, what I've learned is that souls jump out of their bodies, like before accidents and things, the soul will jump out. But if you're not meant to die, it will come back in. It goes out so you don't feel all that pain. Okay. Your soul is not being traumatized by it. I had injured my back when I was 22, right after I'd gotten married. Found out I was pregnant almost right away. So they couldn't do any x rays and things. Didn't know what was really wrong with my back, and ended up for the last 3 months of the pregnancy in bed. And then after I had the baby, went to get the back checked out, and they wanted to do surgery. I had ruptured 3 discs, and I just knew that if I went in for surgery, I was going to die. And I put it off for 5 years for that reason, until they told me that if I wanted to have any more children, I have no choice. I have to go in and have the back surgery done. And I told everyone that I knew I was going to die. And they're just, oh, you're just afraid. I'm like, I'm not. I'm just telling you. So, I love you. I know I'm going to die. And the night before the surgery, they do an MRI with a contrast dye. Before they gave it to me, I told them I thought I was allergic to it. I'd had it once before and had a bad reaction. And they're like, oh, that's normal. Everybody has that reaction. And what do I know? I'm not the doctor. I'm just 27 years old. I'm the patient, right? So as soon as they administered the dye, I immediately coded and died. Everybody's experience is a little bit different based on their circumstances. I did not see a light of tunnel. I immediately was just whisked away into the light and into the fifth dimension, which is the lowest level of heaven. I could see everything that was happening below me. I could see the crash cart come in, injecting the line, using the paddles, flipping the bed up and slapping me. I could hear the conversation in the hallway at the same time of the nurses at the desk saying, oh, something going on here. Well, I could hear people at the end of the hallway. I could see in all the room. But my focus for the most part was on in front of me, because it was like sitting in the front row of an IMAX theater. And it's this big movie just playing out. And what I found is that less than 10% of the people that have an NDE get to the level that I got to and have a full life review. And they were showing me anything in my life that was joyful, anybody that cared about me, anyone that I cared about. These are the moments that they were showing me. And then I heard from behind me that it's not really my time. I can stay if I want to, or I can go back. It's my choice. And I really had to think about it for a little bit. And then I remembered I had 2 children.
Yeah.
And I knew that I am supposed to be here for my children. That was the biggest reason that I came back. And as soon as I made that decision, I was back in my body instantly. And I hadn't had my 3rd child at that point in time. So if I didn't come back, he wouldn't be here.
Just out of complete curiosity, it's probably like the Capricorn Sun Virgo rising. Did you end up having surgery the next day?
I did. I did.
Wow.
And it was a success. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, the experience there is just incredible. And when you think about quantum physics, the speed of light is 300 million miles a second. When my soul went into that light and traveled at that speed, my vibration is extremely high. That's why they can move anywhere in seconds when they're on the other side without a body. And then my soul came back into my body. So my vibration is still extremely high. And I can connect instantly. And I go back and forth to the 5th dimension constantly. And this is where I've gotten all my information from at this point.
So this is kind of leading us next question that I was going to have for you, which is obviously this was a life-changing experience. You opted to come back, as you were saying, because you entered into the 5th dimension and you have the ability, like you have the facility to journey, to travel. You're not necessarily limited by time and space anymore. But I'm really wondering, like, what else changed in your life?
Nothing. You would think that after something like that happening, you'd get up one morning and say, that's it, I'm done, pack my bags and do where you. That's not really how it works. We plan our life here before we come here. And there were a lot of other things that I still had to experience before I was able to do the work that I'm doing now. Quite honestly, I could barely talk about the experience for years without totally breaking down and crying, because I would be overwhelmed with the feelings from the other side. The only 2 things that you take with you when you leave this body is your knowledge and your feelings. And I used to say love, but I bring so many souls through from the other side that aren't like necessarily living in love. Some of them angry, some of them are hurt, some of them are feeling remorseful. It's all of your feelings that you have in your soul are with you on the other side. And mine was just an overwhelming feeling of love at that point in time when I was there. It's almost like being smothered in a warm blanket of love. It's just overwhelming. It's amazing. It's just incredible over there. It really, truly is.
So you were saying that you kind of stayed the course and just kind of did your quote unquote ordinary life. So that actually leads me to be curious about, at what point did you put up your shingle, or did you actually start identifying as a psychic and as a medium and sharing the work with other people?
Everything in your life happens the way it's supposed to. You're always right where you're supposed to be at any given time. You can't push it. You can't make it happen any faster than it's supposed to. When I came back, the one thing that did change, although I was not conscious of it, was that I was more connected with my soul. We are not the suit that sits here. We are the energetic soul that lives inside. When you're having a 3D experience here, we all have a brain in our head, right? Our brain is nothing more than a high-speed computer, and it's there to help you process all your information. So your brain has a specific job, though. Its job is to protect you. How does it do that? It does it by creating fear. So most people are making their decisions based on fear. And when you do that, it's literally a crapshoot. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but you're always questioning the decision. When you are making your decision from your soul, it's a knowing. And everybody's had something happen in their life where they just knew, I'm supposed to do this. This is what I'm supposed to do. And they do it and it works out fine 100% of the time. That's your soul. So the one thing that did happen when I came back and I didn't realize I was doing it is I had really tapped into my soul and I was following what I had a knowing. One of those things was that, after my third son was born, I woke up the next morning and he was only a few weeks old. And I'm like, my husband's cheating on me. I know he is. And sure enough, he was and had been for 3 years. But if I'd known before, I wouldn't have had my third son. I wasn't supposed
Ah,
to know prior. And then I went on to open my first daycare center. Had like next to no money, but I couldn't find decent daycare for my kids and trained chef at the time. And I had a restaurant. I sold the restaurant and had maybe 10 grand in my pocket left over. But I knew I was supposed to do this. And I was way over my head with no educational background to do that, no experience in it for 125 kids. And everybody thought I'd just gone off the deep end and it's never going to happen. And I'm just going to lose everything. And well, within 6 months, I had the place open, licensed for 125 kids, and there were 5 in it. 3 of them were mine. I managed to do it. And by September, I had 75 of them in there. And 1 year later, I bought the building because I knew this was my path. This is what I was supposed to do. And when you follow those breadcrumbs and you do what you're supposed to do, they'll just keep showering you. Then I opened a second daycare. Then I started a nonprofit group for the communities. It keeps snowballing. I really didn't get into doing this work until about 10 years ago. I was going through a second divorce. The economy was horrible. I could not find employees. I was making hiring decisions out of desperation. It was like a perfect storm. And I went to a Reiki practitioner to have some energy work done for relaxation. And she recommended that I meditate. And I'm like, there's no way I can meditate. I'm running 5 businesses right now. I'm going through a divorce. I'm taking care of my mom who's sick. There's no way. And sure enough, the first time that I meditated, it was like they kicked the door in from the other side. And I couldn't turn it off, literally. I was working as a medical esthetician in one of my businesses. The first woman to come in, I'm like, did your aunt just die? She's like, huh? Yeah, how'd you know that? I'm like, I have no idea how I knew that. Did you clean her house out this weekend? She's like, yeah, we did. I said, oh, did you happen to find one of those sock puppets that looks like a monkey from the 1950s? She's like, yeah, I found one in the attic. And I'm like going, oh my God, this is just nuts, right? And it just continued and it got worse. And then I had full figures walking in the door behind the clients. And then I go home that night. It's the same thing like when I was a kid. They were all in my bedroom. And I'm like, I can't.
yeah.
And I went crazy trying to find someone to help me turn this off. It's the old adage, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And they sent me 2 wonderful teachers to teach me how to turn it on, how to turn it off, who I'm talking with on the other side, how to protect myself.
So actually, how to turn it off, how to turn it on, and how to protect yourself. Those 3 things feel like something that I'm sure a lot of people in the audience would benefit greatly from hearing your wisdom about. So let's start with how to turn it off.
You are always in control of your abilities, and everyone has psychic and mediumship abilities. Just so everyone's aware, I used to teach it. It's like playing the piano. Some people sit down and all they can do is Mozart. They don't have a lot of ability, but then they can apply themselves a little bit and learn to play a couple of songs. Other people really are interested and want to do it, and they can really apply themselves and become a concert pianist.
Yeah.
And then I'm like the child prodigy that sits down and plays Mozart. But everyone has abilities. But you have to remember, you are always in control. So there's a hierarchy on the other side, the same as there is anywhere. And they have jobs to do and things like that, because every soul has to have purpose to feel fulfilled. Everyone has what's called a gatekeeper. And a gatekeeper is someone who, if you choose to do this work, will help me to turn it off and stop souls from coming through to me unless I've allowed them. His direction is that unless I'm working, he cannot send souls through to me unless it's an emergency. And I've only had 2 instances where he's allowed people to come through that were emergencies. That's how you turn it off. And turn it on, you ask, you pray and you ask, then you become connected. But, you have to protect yourself at all times, because when you're opening yourself up to the universe, you're opening yourself up for good and evil. The whole war of the world, good and evil, is all about souls. They all want your soul. If you have a good heart and a good soul, the devil wants it. You have to always keep yourself protected. If people could see what I see now, it's like watching an episode of The Walking Dead. They're everywhere. All the souls that are stuck here, the lower vibrational entities. Oh my God, the pictures that I've taken, the ones that it's just incredible. They're everywhere. But a lot of them, if they're evil, want your body because they don't have a body. So this is where they'll attach to you. So I tell everybody, wear a symbol, wear a cross, wear a medallion. I have the Kundalini, which is my medical alert, wear a St. Michael, wear something for protection. Exactly.
Miraculous metal.
Yeah. I mean, if you're out in a restaurant or a bar, alcohol used to be called spirits because it lowers your vibration, and you can get attached to the spirit. Spirits can attach to you.
Yes.
And when they attach to you, I see them as a black shadow. It looks like you're giving them a piggyback ride, but you end up taking them home.
Right.
That's what happens. I think people suddenly, I've got somebody in my house. Well, that's because they think you're allowing them there. And when you have one, you have lots more because they start to gather. Okay. Kind likes attract, energy attracts. So you want them out as quickly as possible. You don't ever want to be living with a ghost. And if it's your mother that's coming to visit, she's not a ghost. She lives in the light and she can come and go as she pleases.
Yeah.
So you always ask for protection before you meditate, before you do any type of work, whether it's Reiki, energy work, anything like that. You always ask for protection. And I ask for Archangel Michael. And then obviously, if you're getting into deeper work, then you need more protection. But that's, for people that are really into deeper work.
So many things that you were just saying. And I think I want to go back to the idea of we are in control, because one of the things that I've noticed for a lot of people when they're especially first realizing that they're empaths and they are picking up all the thoughts, feelings, energy, sensations from the world around them, processing everything as if it's their own and not really sure how to navigate it. The thing I hear from a lot of people is that they will literally say, I can't control this. And so I'd love to hear your experience, because I'm imagining you went through that journey of like coming to understand that you had control.
So that's control on this side, there's control on this side, and there's control on the other side. For people that are empaths, you have to remember we are just energy. That's all we are. You are not the suit, you're the energy inside, but we're magnets. So you're always repelling or attracting at any given time. And an empath is just kind of, they're lint rollers, okay?
Yeah.
They just keep picking up everyone's negative energy everywhere they go. It's exhausting. And you have to get rid of that every single day. It's what you have to do. The best way to get rid of that, and you take a shower and bathe every day, so there's no excuse. Some good sea salt. Negative energy is positively charged. Sea salt is negatively charged. What happens when you put a positive and a negative together? It neutralizes immediately. Don't throw it in your bath water. It's kind of wasting it. Rub it on your body and then get in your tub, or rub it on your body and then get in the shit. You will feel it immediately. It's like being on the top of a tower and suddenly you're on the ground. It's that fast. And you should do it every single solitary day. That's the fastest, easiest, and best way to get the gunk off you, because that's what it is. It's gunk.
Well, and salt has been used in magical spells and magical work for thousands of years. And I'm just thinking, I wonder if having an amulet with salt in it, or carrying a little bit of salt. So it's used for
protection. So that's why I said about protecting. If I was going to do more work, I would create a salt circle, because evil won't cross the salt circle.
Right.
That's the difference. So it has the properties that it has with those negative ions. It's, again, neutralizing. Evil is positively charged, believe it or not. It's not, it may be a negative entity, but it's positively charged. So that's why it cannot cross a salt circle. It will lose its power completely.
Well, in the same way, I'm thinking about acid and alkaline. Acidic, things that are acidic are positively charged,
Yeah,
things that are alkaline are negatively charged.
exactly.
And it just
It's just
because something has
chemistry.
a quote positive charge doesn't necessarily mean that it's good.
And then being in charge on the other side, for instance, I've worked on missing person cases and murder cases. And, I just let them know on the other side, you can show me, tell me, and explain to me how you were murdered, but I don't want to see the blood and gore. So they can
Hmm.
do all of that without showing any of that to me. And that's what I mean about you're also on charge on the other side. You tell them what you want and what you're willing to do.
Well, and I have found that boundaries are universal. And that whether we're talking about having boundaries on a physical activity that's going on in your mundane life or spiritually, that you're still allowed to set boundaries and you're still allowed to define your terms. And so often, even with ghosts or spirit, it's about our lack of boundaries, not necessarily the inherent nature of something on the other side. That claiming of our boundaries and the claiming of our right to say, okay, this is what I'm comfortable about, this is what I'm not comfortable with.
And that all gets down to the first lesson in all fair and love and karma of
Which
self-worth.
is exactly where I wanted to
You
take
know?
us next. So, what a perfect
Yeah.
segue.
So that's
Yeah.
self-worth. Yeah. If you don't have self-worth, you're not setting boundaries here or in the other realm.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that think it's cool to live with spirits in their house. And quite honestly, it's very dangerous. And they will find out as time goes by, which they always do, how dangerous it is. It's not something you want to do. They don't belong here any longer. It's that simple. If they're stuck here out of fear, well, they don't know they're dead. There are very few that are here because they really like being here. There's a few, but not the majority.
Yeah.
What I've learned is that we plan the life that we have here. There is nothing that is an accident. Don't have regrets because honestly, it's not going to change anything. The only thing you can delay in your life is learning your lessons. And everyone has to learn these 5 soul lessons in order for their soul to progress. When you learn these lessons, your life changes 180 degrees. Anything you absolutely want in your life, you can absolutely have when you've learned your lessons because you now look at your life from a higher perspective. It's incredible. So the first lesson is self-worth. And it's not value because value is what other people place on you. Self-worth is the understanding that you are the only one of you in this world. How special are you? Even if you're a twin, you're different. You like different things. I guarantee your parents can tell you apart. You're the only one of you. You came here for a reason and a purpose, and that's what you need to determine. Why am I here? Everyone has an answer to that. It's also understanding that it's not selfish or narcissistic to put yourself first. It's where everything else comes from. If you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be here to take care of anybody else. You're going to be dead. It's that
Right.
simple. And no one else has the power to make you anything. I can't make you angry any more than I can make you love me. I don't have that kind of power over you. You are the only one that has that power. You are responsible for how you feel. And you're responsible for your emotions, which are an expression of how you feel. So if you want to be happy, you make yourself happy. And then that happiness will attract other people because it's a higher vibration. And your happiness will just keep on ping ponging off of everybody else in your life that's happy, and you'll have an amazing, happy life. Then you have trust and communication. You have to be able to communicate to the people in your life your wants and your needs. Doesn't matter if it's your aunt, your uncle, your brother, your sister, your boyfriend, your teacher, your boss. They don't know what you want by osmosis or what you need.
No.
You need to be
No.
able to communicate.
Yes.
And you have to trust that there is a higher power, that there is a plan. And everything that's happening is not happening to you, it's happening for you. Because if you can't get yourself on the path you're supposed to be on because you're too damn stubborn, the universe is going to intervene and it's going to put you on that path of where you belong, honestly. And you also have to be able to trust the person that you're with to be able to communicate with them. Sex is just another form of communication. If you can't communicate outside the bedroom, you're not going to be able to trust and communicate inside the bedroom either.
That tracks with a conversation I was having with somebody the other day who was a horrible communicator. And their sex life was, on a scale of 0 to 10, it was a 3.
I
Yeah.
mean, even if you're deaf, dumb, and blind, you can communicate. Helen Keller did. Then you have unconditional love. Unconditional love is not playing the martyr and saying, oh, I have to stay with this abusive person because I'm supposed to love them unconditionally. That's not what unconditional love is. Unconditional love is saying, listen, I really love you. I care about you. I want the best for you. We had a really good run, but this is not working. It's not bringing me joy any longer. We need to go our separate ways. And it's not bad mouthing them all the way down the street once you've done it. That's not unconditional love. It's
Mm-mm.
truly wanting the best for that person. I had a really dear friend of mine who I can't spend time with because she has a drinking issue that she doesn't want to work with. And I told her, I love you to death. I just can't hang with you anymore. I can't do this anymore. You're a belligerent drunk. She was very angry. She's like, that's not unconditional love. I said, well, you're going to have to learn it on your own then because it is. And we've stayed in contact. And anytime she has something important, she texts me and tells me, and I wish her all the best. And I want nothing but good things for her.
Yeah.
Can't have her in my life, though, as much as I love her, I can't have her in my life. That's
Right.
unconditional love. Okay. You have to
Yes.
be able to understand that and do that. Suppose you had a child that you loved very dearly and they did something horrific, like they murdered a neighbor in rage and ended up going to prison the rest of their life. You don't like what the child did, but I'm hoping you're still going to unconditionally love your child. So
Right.
that's a big one for people to learn. Okay. People get marred down in drama and think everything's happening to them. No, it's happening for you. Look at the positivity that came out of the relationship, whatever that relationship was. They taught you, hopefully, you learned something in your lesson. Then you have money and balance. Now, money is energy. That's why it's called currency. And it's what we use in this 3D world to show whether or not your life is in balance. Everything in the universe has to stay in balance. You have good and evil, you have night and day, you have left and right, up and down. And everything has to be an even exchange of energy. When I first started my relationship mastery program, I was gearing it towards people that were having divorce or separation. And I gave it to a couple people in the military because they were struggling financially. They did not do the program. It had no
Mm.
value to them because it was free. It
Mm-hmm.
has to be an even exchange or it has no value. You don't walk into a grocery store and plop down $1 million for a bunch of bananas yet. It has to be an even exchange. Or then
Right.
there's resentment on top of it if it's not an even exchange. And then if you are working all the time and you're doing 80 hours a week, to earn a lot of money, it's going to show that your life is completely out of balance. You have no time to spend with your family, your friends, work on your own hobbies, right? And then if you're not spending your money because all you're doing is earning it and hoarding it, then the self-worth kicks in because you don't have enough self-worth to spend the fruits of your labor on yourself. So all of these lessons are intertwined. And the last one is patience. And that's difficult for a lot of people because we live in a society of instant gratification now, and everybody wants everything now. Phone call, answer it, pizza, deliver it. It doesn't work that way. And you planned it, and everything will come in exactly the right time that you planned. How stupid would it be if every 5-year-old girl that wants to get married and have babies had a stork start delivering them at the door, right?
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, people, oh, my biological clock is ticking. I'm 30. I haven't had kids yet. Well, maybe you planned that at 50 you'd marry a widower and you would raise his children. You have to trust. This is where trust comes in again, that you planned the life that you're going to enjoy. Enjoy it. If you knew everything that was going to happen every day, you wouldn't want to get out of bed in the morning. You wouldn't need to. There'd be no excitement in your life. So look at every day when you get up as what's my new excitement today? What's coming into my life? What's going to happen? What new exciting things are there for me? There's something every day, I promise. Look for it.
It's like I thought of the question, how will the universe surprise me today? Well, and you're speaking about patience and trusting in the flow and trusting in the timeline. I mean, in hindsight, there are so many things that I can look at in my life where I thought I wanted it then, and I thought I was ready for it then. And then, especially like certain relationships where I am so grateful that things did not work out the way that I had hoped they would, because my life is so much better the way it
Hmm.
is than if I had, as a young woman in my 20s or even 30s, had all of my wishes and dreams fulfilled. Like the universe had plans much better for me than I had for
Well,
myself.
you made them. No, you made them. You just didn't
Yeah.
you didn't know what they were because you weren't supposed to know what they were. And then we only have 3 different types of relationships. And there's hundreds of thousands of people out there that could be that person. We have karmic relationships, which literally are either someone paying karma back to you that they owe or you paying back to them. But they're strictly to teach you a lesson or you learn a lesson from that
Mm-hmm.
person. So karmic relationships never feel right. They always feel like there's something missing. You're looking for the red flags, you're waiting for the shoe to drop. They can last a long time if you're very stubborn, but as soon as one or the other person learns their lesson, that relationship ends immediately. It's like you wake up in the morning one day and say, "Why do I have this person in my life? I'm done." If you've both learned your lesson, it will end amicably. If only one or the other has learned the lesson, it will end and it will not be amicable. Then you have the soulmate relationship, which is very nice. Soulmate relationship is also meant to either teach or learn, but it's also meant to afford you a little bit of love and comfort along the way. When a soulmate relationship, when you learn your lesson, it can last a long time still. It doesn't have to end. It really depends on what you wrote into your life plan at that point. And then there is the twin flame relationship. Now, a twin flame relationship is extremely rare. It is, there's so much misinformation about it because of the movies that have come out, but they're extremely rare. They are not this romantic relationship that they do in the Notebook. They're just not. They are a karmic and a soulmate on steroids. It is the deepest relationship you'll ever have. It's extremely sexual and it's extremely brief. It lasts for
Mm-hmm.
no longer than a few weeks to a few months. And when you split, it's like it never happened. You're
Mm-hmm.
constantly saying, "Did I feel that? Did that happen?" No one else you meet in your life will ever measure up. You'll be settling in any relationship after that. If so, twin flame relationships have a higher purpose on earth than anybody else. Not only do they have to learn their 5 lessons for their soul to progress, but they also have a path of helping humanity. And they have to learn the lessons and get on the path before they're able to reunite. So most of them do not reunite again in this lifetime. They will
Mm-hmm.
get together, it will change their life completely, and then they go their separate ways. If they learn their lessons and they're on their path, they'll have an opportunity later to meet. Otherwise, it won't happen. So it's literally one soul that's split into 2 bodies. So it's an extreme psychic connection. And then, the universe wants you to think you have choice in your life, even though you really only have the choice to delay your lessons. It's pretty much the only choice you have. They'll offer you door 1, 2, and 3. You take door 1, you go through it, you get married, you have kids, you get divorced. You're in front of door 1, 2, and 3 again. Most
Yes.
people take door 1 again. They get married again, they have more kids, they get divorced, they're in front of door 1, 2, and 3 again. If they learned the lesson they were supposed to learn, they will not take door 1 again. They'll take door 2 or door 3. And they may still get married and have more children, but it will not end for the reason that the other 2 did, because they learned that lesson.
As I mentioned to you, I was going to make that comment and say, oh my goodness, June, I cannot believe how fast the time has gone by. And we're just getting to that moment or that point in the conversation. We've got like a little bit of wiggle room, but I figure this is the perfect point to ask you. So, what else? What is like the thing that you want to be sure that my audience understands? What is the thing that you want to be sure that the takeaway that they get from this conversation?
I think what's very disheartening and sad for me and sad for a lot of people, and they're very unhappy in their life. They live in drama and they zone out all the time. They might sit in front of a TV for hours, and it's called programming for a reason, because your brain is just getting programmed. You're not in touch with your soul at all, and you're just existing. You're
Yes.
not living your life. You're here for a little mini vacation. When you don't have a body on the other side, you can't taste, you can't smell, you can't have sex. There's lots of things you can't go do. This is your opportunity while you're here. You're here for a very short time. You're here for under
Yeah.
100 years. And while your body's in good shape, keep it that way.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what's going on around you. Figure out why you're here
Yeah.
and look at your life from a higher perspective. When you look at little children, the babies are born and they're still very connected with their soul from the other, still coming through from the other side. And I get to talk to my grandkids when they're born and ask them what they're going to be and stuff. But they trust that the universe is going to take care of all their needs. They don't question it and they play
Mhm.
and they find humor in everything. And
Yeah.
as we grow up, we get conditioned that that's not the way it's supposed to be, but it is. The universe wants you to have everything that you want in your life. They want you to be happy. Everybody on the other side that's ever known you in any lifetime, any relative, everyone, all the angels are there to help you. They want you to have everything you've ever wanted here, to be very happy and to live the life that you dream of. They really do. You just have to be an active participant in that and ask. And they will never make you go without. Everybody's, oh, I have no money. I have no money. Keep focusing on no money and you'll have no money. Focus on what
Mhm.
you do have, even if it's just $10 you found. I got $10. Guess what?
Mhm.
Let me figure out how I can make a great meal out of that for us, and
Yeah.
then suddenly, oh my goodness, I found another $20 on the floor so when you have that mindset of it's coming to me, it's always coming to me, it will always be coming to you. That's how it works. You have to stay positive. The universe does not recognize negativity. So if you
No.
keep trying to say, "Oh, I'm cross the street. I'm not going to get hit by a car. I'm not going to get hit by a car." You're going to get hit by a car because that's all it hears. You
That's
just want
all
to
it
say,
hears.
yeah. What you want to say is, "I'm going to cross this street fine, and I'm going to cross this street, and you will cross the street fine." You
Yeah.
have to keep the negativity out of it and know that everyone chose the role that they play here. Even the beggar on the street corner chose that life, chose that role. And if he wants a hot meal and a bed for the night, all he's got to do is ask. And I guarantee you it will be provided for him somewhere because the universe does not let anyone down. It doesn't.
Right.
All you have to
Right.
do is believe it, know it, ask, and follow
Yes.
through. That's what the brain
Yes.
is for, following through after once you've asked.
Well, and you're speaking about asking from the standpoint of the positive as opposed to the negative. I've been having this is a metaphysical lesson that I've been aware of for a very long time. But recently, I've been working with prompts with AI. And what I've discovered is that it's even more clear there. The only way you get what you want is by clarifying and speaking to what you desire, not what you do not desire. So, like, for example, if you say, remove the cat in the foreground, it's going to add a bigger cat in the foreground because it says cat in the foreground. Or if you say, I don't want this, it will just create what you did not want. And I think it's been such
A
an
good
interesting
lesson.
example. It's such a good lesson because I hear so many people praying for, asking for, affirming from the standpoint of what they want to get away from, as opposed to what they desire and what they're going
Yeah.
towards. And
Law of
it's
attraction
so
doesn't work
crucial.
that way. It's not
It
called the
does
law of
not.
attraction. It's called the law of attraction.
So, the next question or the next thing we get to do is this time travel exercise. And I always like to frame it and explain it. I personally believe that podcasts exist outside of time and space, that we leave conversation on the server and it exists for people will be hearing this for years to come. But I believe that not only does it echo forward into the future, it has the ability to ripple back into the past. And that you and I have the ability to go back and give a broadcast to a younger part of you who really needs a message. What I love to do is to really imagine we're going back there and we are talking directly to her and we are telling her what it is she needs to know. And speaking like in that first person directly, like, I love you. You're going to be okay. So I always love to ask, where are we going? Like, when are we going? How old is June? And what are we telling her?
I am going to go back to June when June is probably about 10 or 11 years old and is totally ignored by her abusive parents, was kidnapped, has no friends, literally would cry in the corner every night in my room and believe that no one loved me. It was heartbreaking. What I want to tell everyone, including these teenagers that are going through the worst situation this country's ever gone through, you may not think that someone loves you, but trust me, many, many people love you. And you have to love yourself as well. Ho'oponopono is wonderful. Forgive yourself for anything you think you've done this life or another, and love yourself. And know how special that you are, because you are the only one of you here. As difficult as the time seems to be right now, kids haven't lived long enough to understand that, wait a minute, it'll change. No matter what it is, wait a minute, it'll change. Some adults have trouble with that. They feel overwhelmed and feel like there's no way out. No one's ever going to love me again. At the end of the day, we're human beings. We're having a human experience here. Our soul is in this human body. And whether we're here or on the other side, the highest vibration of all is love. It's what we all want. We all want to be loved. Loved, accepted for who we are, and then loved some more.
So I'm really hearing, we're going back to this terrified, just and desolate, despairing 10, 11-year-old June. You are loved. There are more people who love you than you even know. And this period, this time will pass. And you are so precious. You are so dear. You have so many important things to offer the world. We need you here. And you're going to do amazing things.
And if every little girl and every little boy out there can understand that you don't know what your future holds, but it's going to be amazing, I promise.
It is going to be amazing. Okay, last question. How do we get in touch with you?
So I'm on all social media except for TikTok. I do not do TikTok. I'm on Facebook more than anything else, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, X, Truth. And you can go to my website, juneedward.com. There's no S in there, juneedward.com. There are lots of videos that people can watch. There is a free webinar that everyone can sign up for to learn a little bit more about energy. You can book appointments with me on there. I do regular readings. I do numerology and astrology readings called the Destiny cards. I read angel cards. I can bring through any loved one that you want from the other side that you need to talk to or have closure from. We can do Akashic records, which is your book of life. If you're having an issue in this lifetime, you need to know why it's happening. That's pretty amazing stuff to clear it up.
Yes.
And I can also, give you information as to what's coming up in your life.
Amazing. And you guys, all of this information will be in the show notes. If you come on over to empathicmasteryshow.com, you'll be able to find all of June's links and check her out. And also this book. Actually, before we go, do you want to just share a little bit about this book, All's Fair in Love and Karma?
So this is my fourth book.
Yeah.
This is my first award-winning bestseller, but this is my fourth
Congratulations.
book. Thank you. And my first book is A Night on the Other Side, and they're all on my website, Amazon and bookstores and everything, but it's easier on the website. And that teaches everyone what you need to know about meditation, psychic development, and mediumship development. It's everything I used to teach in the classes. It's a really good technical book for everybody. And then I have the Relationship Mastery Program, which is a 7-week program to help people change their energy, understand how the universe works, and completely change their life around. And this book is a result of that, All Fair in Love and Karma, since I identified the 5 life lessons that your soul has to learn in order to progress, because everyone that was in the program was working on the same lessons. And then I have a Destiny card journal, which is a great journal for people to buy to put their intentions in every new moon and see how much they've progressed every year. And it tells you a little bit about your astrological insights and a little bit about you based on your card, which is numerical.
And today, it just so happens, as we're recording this, is the new moon in Capricorn. Woohoo!
And it's January 11th. It's 111, which is the angel's number. And it's a portal that opens for you to really connect. And if you meditate tonight, you will get such an amazing connection with your angels on the other side. You'll feel it. You'll connect with your soul very easily.
Very easily. Of course, by the time this airs, which is going to be a couple of months from now, you guys have other opportunities to meditate and to connect. June, this conversation has been so rich. I feel such a deep sense of love for little June. What a journey she went through. Thank you so much for being so real, for sharing your story with us, and for just bringing the truth.
I wrote my autobiography for that reason. It was one of the hardest books I ever wrote.
And that book is called?
Dancing with the Universe.
Dancing with the Universe.
The Making of a Medium.
Sounds like an amazing book. You guys check it out. June, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it as well.
Yeah. Keep up the amazing work. As we come to the end of this episode, I'd love to hear what you're taking from this show. Please jump over to empathicmasteryshow.com to leave your comments. In the show notes, you'll find a link to grab your copy of my Empathic Safety Guide, 3 Basics for Finding Calm in the Eye of the Storm. And while you're there, please subscribe and follow this show. And thank you for your help sharing this show with the people who need it. Please help me to spread the word and send this podcast to friends or family members who need support living as highly sensitive empathic people. Then join me again when the next Empathic Mastery Show airs. Okay, one last time. Hop over to empathicmasteryshow.com for your Empathic Safety Guide. And until next show, shine on. We need you and your gifts here on this planet. So please don't judge your empathic rainbow by colorblind standards.